This is the primal scream of a dying regime.
Pray for our enemies, because we're going medieval on these people. You're just not got a free shot on all these networks lying about the people. The people have had a belly full of it. I know you don't like hearing that. I know you try to do everything in the world to stop that, but you're not going to stop it. It's going to happen.
And where do people like that go to share the big lie? MAGA media. I wish, in my soul, I wish that any of these people had a conscience.
Ask yourself, what is my task and what is my purpose? If that answer is to save my country, this country will be saved.
War Room. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
Friday, 17 July, year of our Lord, 2026. Okay, let's go back to the scene of the crime. Let's go back to the first Trump turn. I want to bring in Jeff Clark. Jeff is one of the smartest lawyers we've got, and I know that as a fact because at the end of the first term in DOJ, how many departments reported to you, sir? What was your title? What were you working on?
So, Steve, I was the Assistant Attorney General for the Environment Division. Senate confirmed back in 2018. And then I was also asked to take over the Civil Division in 2020. So I had a total of 1,400 lawyers reporting to me that I directed.
And the Civil Division is a pretty main battery division. It's like the equivalent of the Criminal Division, correct?
Yeah, it's very large. It's 1,000 lawyers standing alone.
And so people thought highly enough of you to put those two under your auspice, and you were Senate confirmed on the first. Talk to me about. I want you to last night. What was revealed? What Solomon these people putting out? Folks, just remember, and this is why mainstream media has got to kill it in the crib, because more revelations are going to come out in the days and weeks ahead. And this is why I believe, hey, I'm just a simple Mick with a microphone, but I happen to believe we're heading towards a national security emergency about this, because obviously our election process is a complete and total joke. Jeff Clark, give me your thoughts last night when you heard the president address the nation.
Sure. So, Steve, look, this is personal vindication for me, so I was particularly pleased. The president covered 4 topics. So let me just list them quickly before I go through them. One is the Chinese election penetration and the fact that they have 220 million plus of our voter files in ways that they can manipulate. Second, the component that we know from Venezuela, that the computer election systems can be hacked in undetectable ways. The second thing is that, the third thing is that we have at least 220,000 non-citizens on the voting rolls. And that's even with the blue states not cooperating with Harmeet Dillon and others at DOJ to turn over their voter rolls. So it's even more than 220,000 illegals on the voter rolls. And I have a particular win about that I want to highlight in litigation from Arizona against Adrian Fontes and Chris Mays. And then lastly, there was the exposure last night of the fact that there was a massive fraud operation uncovered in Michigan. And actually, you did a show about that with Andrew Kloster, who actually had spotted that issue, and he tried to run it up the DOJ flagpole, and it was blocked. And that's a common theme here, even going back to the Chinese thing. So on the Chinese revelations, which was the first thing I started with, we have the fact that, we have these millions of files that they can penetrate into. And we have the fact that that was deliberately hid from the president of the United States. I mean, this is treasonous conduct by this woman, Nikki Floris, who was the head of counterintelligence and then was also involved in the foreign, election task force. She's the one who also gave the phony briefing to try to set up Senator Chuck Grassley and Ron Johnson. Her fingerprints are over everything. Not only did she have this shadow government email where she said, don't worry, I've set up an entire shadow government to keep this from President Trump. She also, in the documents, admits that she engaged in massaging presidential daily briefs, which, as Peter Navarro said earlier today on your show, these things are sacred. So we have somebody who's a mole essentially inside the process. Now she works at a high-ranking position over at Microsoft, of all things. She got rewarded in 2022 with that. This woman needs to be indicted, Steve. It's off the charts as to what happened to President Trump. And how does this relate to my experience inside DOJ? So, I got to be careful here. I'm going to rely only on the public report that later came out from the intelligence community, where the majority of the intelligence community said there was no foreign election interference in 2020, but there was a dissent by Radcliffe, who was the head of ODNI at the time. And there was also, in large part, dissent from Barry Zulauf, who was the ombudsman of ODNI. And they spotted the fact that the intelligence community did not treat 2016 and 2020 even-handedly. And I can tell you, having seen things behind the scenes on that, and that being part of my big showdown meeting on January 3rd, 2021, about who was going to run the Justice Department and whether we were going to keep investigating the 2020 election or not, that they kept these things from President Trump. And in particular, they also kept from him the fact that evidence was uncovered in Albany that the Chinese, using data from TikTok, could create fake registrations. No one told President Trump that at the time. So DOJ was keeping information from him, and ODNI, I should say the entire intelligence community, with the exception of Radcliffe dissenting and Zulauf, were keeping information from President Trump as well. And that's just bombshell. Let me turn to the second thing, which is the non-citizens. The second group. Hang
on. I want to real quickly. You were kind of, I'm not saying a beloved character, but you were highly respected. In fact, give me the law firm. You were one of the youngest partners ever. You were a very highly respected guy, only talked of in kind of glowing terms that this is one of the smartest guys we've got. I think you're a Harvard College graduate. You went to a prominent law school. You were a partner at a major firm. You came in as kind of a wunderkind, and you had all these, you had Barr and these guys thought enough of you to give you this massive responsibility. That all changed quickly. They tried to disbar you, all of it. At the moment, in the heat of battle here, that Barr was going to step down, your name was mentioned, I guess, as potentially stepping in as acting attorney general. Am I correct there? I'm not saying that's a fact, but that's at least what the media was talking about.
Well, no, Steve, actually, it is a fact, as I put forward even in my bar defense, and that they're still trying to take my bar license, just like they took John Eastman's bar license. So yeah, I was one of the youngest deputy assistant attorney generals in history at DOJ, starting in 2001. Then I became a partner at Kirkland & Ellis after I left the Bush administration. And then I was given two divisions. I was the only assistant attorney general who ran two divisions at the same time. And yes, everything was going well. I was even, beginning to talk about returning to big law, to private practice, when the 2020 election came down, and I was suspicious of it, and I wanted it investigated, and I insisted that it be investigated. And that's when, all hell broke loose and people came after me. And I was the acting attorney general for about 9 hours before they launched a whole resignation plot against me. And you've seen those over the years, going back to the Saturday Night Massacre in the Nixon administration. This is one of the deep state's plays of, if they can't get their way, then they're going to start triggering resignations to try to make, in this instance, President Trump look bad. So that's the fact that I spotted the foreign election report as a big cover-up operation, that's been massively vindicated as of last night.
We'll get you back on and go through this in more detail later. Hang on. But I just want to remind you that Barr said that he had talked to all the field offices of all the states involved, and they had nothing to report. There was totally a clean and fair election. It's in his book, chapter and verse. We know because the Epoch Times later, on a FOIA request, got information from all those field offices that said they had never been requested, and there was no reports they had, and they had never been requested, and they had never talked to the Attorney General Barr at the time, except for the Pennsylvania, I think Philadelphia office. This guy ran for, I think, governor later. He actually said he sent a letter to Barr, which we've seen. And in his letter, he says, hey, there's so much potential massive fraud here in the mail-in ballots. I think we got to slow everything down to certification. We need to get involved. And Maine Justice told him to shut up and move on. So I just want to put that out there. We'll have you back on later. Tell me about your victory.
So the victory relates to the non-citizens on the roll, Steve. So Adrian Fontes and Chris Mays, she's the attorney general who was prosecuting John Eastman and Giuliani and Mark Meadows and Christina Bobb out in Arizona. And she says she's going to re-indict them after her indictment got dismissed. So I challenged their election manual for the Oversight Project with the Pima County Republican Party and its chair, Kathleen Wynne. And we got a preliminary injunction against a key provision of that election manual where they were trying to basically block out Republicans in a clever way from voting, which is they said that if you wear your law enforcement uniform or your military uniform into the polls, that's inherently, or at least potentially, intimidating to the voters. And because it's intimidation, we can call the police on you and have you kicked out. And this was clearly a move as a result of knowing that there are illegals on the election rolls to try to keep ICE out of policing the polls as part of the midterms. So we think it's a major victory. And we think that President Trump's revelations last night about the 200,000 plus illegals on the voter rolls, it totally vindicates and supports that and is of a piece with it.
Well, we also have the 278 just from 4 states shows you we're going to have ICE. It's required by it's going to be a minimum requirement. You're going to have ICE at these polling stations, correct?
I think the president should have ICE there to deter people who are illegals from coming and trying to sneak in and vote at the very least. And it's not, if that's intimidation, Steve, that's intimidation of people who should not be voting, right? So this is just intimidation. The people who shouldn't be intimidated are people who are citizens, right? But they also pick this idea of if you come wearing a law enforcement uniform or a military uniform, they know that law enforcement and military members are more likely to be Republicans. So if they try to say they can't vote in uniform, especially if they're coming off a shift or something on election day, they're like disproportionately trying to hurt and target Republicans. So that's, Fontes and Mays in action. And the last thing I wanted to flag for you is that you had Andrew Kloster, who was at the White House in OPM in Trump 45, and then became the general counsel of the Office of Personnel Management in Trump 47, on about the fact that he was tied into seeing that there was a massive fraud scheme in Michigan. They were paying people, and they were paying them on a piece, by piece basis. Bring in a fraudulent, registration, and we'll pay you X dollars in gift cards. That was revealed last night by President Trump as well. I haven't seen that get a lot of attention. Andrew Kloster was on your show years ago talking about that and talking about the fact that when he raised that to people at DOJ, they buried it. So again, whether we have this Nikki Floris person, and people should look at the Oversight Project's tweet stream from last night thread about her and all of her problematic dealings over the years, or we're talking, and so she's at the FBI, or whether we're talking about, DOJ lawyers, the issues that should have been brought to President Trump's attention about how the 2020 election was corrupted were deliberately kept from him via, to use Nikki Flores's words, a shadow government, Steve. And that is just off the charts nuclear.
Jeff Clark, where do we get you at Oversight Project? What's your social media? I'll have you back on early next week to talk about the impoundment situation. Where do people go to find out more about you and all the great work you're doing over there with the team?
Sure. Main account is Jeff Clark US on X, and Oversight Project is itsyourgov.org.
Had to be a big night in the Clark household as you're exonerated. And in fact, not just exonerated, you stood in the breach when not many people were standing in the breach, Jeff. You're a hero and a patriot and a good man.
Thank you, Steve.
On top of that, and a brilliant guy. My Patriot Supply, it's not called the prepper industry anymore. It's common sense. Go to preparewithbannon.com. They've given us our own site over their own landing page with all kind of specials. $250 off a 6-month emergency food supply, but there's so much more. Talk to their consultants and advisors. Preparewithbannon.com or preparewithbannon.com. Check it out today.
Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
Okay, Philip Patrick's going to be with me tomorrow on the Saturday show for an hour, and you don't want to miss that. We're going to go through everything that's happening in capital markets today and the economy, and particularly our spiraling debt. And, of course, we got a $350 billion, reconciliation up there that we got to really think through. I'm not so sure we can afford any of it. We're going to go to EOB here right now. I want to make sure Birch Gold, take your phone, text Bannon, BANNON 989898, ultimate guide for investing gold and precious metals. Most importantly, get in touch with Philip Patrick and his team. And like I said, Philip will be with me. Hopefully, I think we're playing the first hour tomorrow for an hour. Now we're going to go to Secretary of Homeland Security, giving a brief over in the Executive Office building on the White House compound. Markwayne Mullin, let's go ahead and let it rip.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. President Trump is correct when he said that election security is national security. And one of the greatest privileges I have is being Secretary of the Department of Homeland, and part of that is that we secure our elections. It surprised me when we first started getting in and digging into the elections. Should be something that every American, regardless if you're a Republican, you're a Democrat, you're an independent, you're a libertarian, regardless if you live in a blue state or you live in a red state, everybody should know that their vote counts. And we have individuals that are voting that shouldn't be. It cancels out someone that should for everybody. What we're going to do is dig in just a little bit deeper, and then we'll take some of your questions. So first of all, Department of Homeland Security, we've identified 250,000 non-citizens registered to vote in just 4 states. Mind you, we have 46 other states. And just 4 states, we've identified 250,000 non-citizens registered to vote in California and Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and Nevada. We also worked with proactive states to identify 28,000 non-citizens on their voter rolls, plus 400,000 individuals that are still registered to vote that are deceased. Now, these 23 states, they proactively worked with us on the SAVE program. That's Georgia, Ohio, Tennessee, Texas, North Carolina, Idaho, Alabama, Missouri, Louisiana, Kansas, Arkansas, Wyoming, Montana, Iowa, Florida, South Dakota, Indiana, Arizona, South Carolina, Utah, Nebraska, Michigan, and my great home state of Oklahoma. What's interesting to me is we're getting pushback from activist judges that are saying that, hold on, the SAVE Act or the SAVE program, they are trying to put a stop to. Currently, because of the SAVE program, we have a pending appeal because activist judges are saying what? They don't want to secure our elections? Once again, how is this a partisan issue? This shouldn't be a partisan issue. This should be that any judge and any God-fearing individual that loves this country should want to make sure that our elections are secure. And we have created inside DHS the SAVE program that allows states to proactively look at their rolls. And so when you have 278,000 individuals that are non-citizens registered to vote, plus 400,000 that have already been identified just in 23 states, what can we find when we have all 50 participating with us. We know, talking about our machines, we know for sure that our foreign adversaries, not our allies, foreign adversaries have parts that are vital pieces in our voting machines. We know that they can access what they consider the key to the back of these machines. We know that they can change voter registration and your vote. We know it's possible. There's not a question. It's not even for debate. One thing that I love about numbers and I love about facts is they don't lie. This isn't something that I'm trying to tell you to spin a narrative. This is what is going on. And what we are saying is that every state should partner with us to work to secure this. Once we identify the problem, everybody should be informed. Working with Secretary Lutnick, we are going to make our security enhancements mandatory, meaning that if these states want a grant and they want to be reimbursed to work or to run federal elections, they're going to have to implement security issues. Just security issues. We're not trying to get into anything else, but we're saying that the machines have to be secured and that your voter registration list needs to be scrubbed. We need to make sure that individuals that are legally able to vote are voting. We know that Iran hacked our state voter files and attempted to compromise, is the best word I can use, our systems where military members used to vote. So we're working with Secretary Hegseth and the DOW to safeguard those systems and protect our military voters. What's frustrating again in this is that the Biden administration knew this. And our intel community knew this. And not only did they withhold it from President Trump in his first term, but they withheld it, it looks like, President Biden in his term. They withheld this information from the public. They withheld it from Congress. That should never happen again, and because of President Trump's leadership, we're not allowing that to happen. We're telling the American people not to scare them, but to ensure them that we are watching it. We're taking it serious. We will secure our elections. Underneath President Trump's directive, he has gave Department of Homeland Security and myself the tools and the resources we need to secure the elections. But we have to have the states partner with us. If they choose not to, then the voters should hold them accountable. When I was sworn in just over 100 days ago by President Trump, and I can tell you honestly, I haven't quit smiling. I think this is the greatest job that I could possibly have. I said at that time that I'm going to fight for your yard and your backyard like I do mine, regardless if it's a blue state or it's a red state. Department of Homeland Security isn't just keeping you safe on your streets, but we're keeping our voters safe and our elections safe. But we can only do that if we have full participation. Right now, as I said, we only have 23 states participating with us. Out of just 4 blue states, to repeat that number, we found 250,000 non-citizens registered to. Real ID does not prove citizenship and does not give you the right to vote. You must be a U.S. citizen and you must be eligible to vote. Before and after the election, we will scrub all election records looking for illegal aliens and those who are ineligible to vote, including those that somehow voted, yet they were deceased. If you're illegal and attempted to vote, or you tried to vote illegally for someone else, we will find you and we will charge you. Illegal voter registration and illegal voting Both carry penalties up to 5 years in prison and up to $250,000 in fines. We will pursue maximum pressure on this. To let you know, we will be proactively looking at early voting, and then after post-election, we will continue to scrub all those that did vote. Those states that don't participate with us, they have public records of those that voted, which is where we found the 250,000 from the 4 states that don't participate with us. We will go through those records one by one, and we will pursue everybody. We will make sure that people know they can trust our elections. If states want the grant funding, to recap, they must secure the elections. I want to thank President Trump's proactive approach to this. He has put together a remarkable team that not only is informing the public about what's going on, but we're also informing Congress, we're informing our states, and we're going to secure our elections. States must be aware of the real threats for voter registration and the system breaches. And I do want to reemphasize the system breaches. Our machines are vulnerable. There are steps that can be made right now that can secure those. I would ask not just the public, but the media. That question should be asked to blue states, because we have red states participating with us. We have some red states that aren't. The American people, the states, even the media, to get access and the information they need to hold the states accountable. So with that, I'll open it up for questions. Yes, ma'am. I think I like the Daily Caller better than the Daily Mail. I really don't like the Daily Mail. Yeah.
There's about 3 months until the midterm elections. I'm sure people are watching President Trump's speech last night, they're watching your remarks today, and they're feeling uneasy about casting their vote in the midterm elections. Can you ensure that the midterm elections will be secure?
First of all, great question. Thank you. When we start talking about can we ensure that the midterm elections are going to be secure? Yes, we absolutely can build confidence in the American people. Let me call a question and I'll get to you guys. Hold on one second. Yes.
Secretary, the president has mentioned that there are intelligence officials who covered this up and kept it from him and President Biden. Do you have an estimate of how many intelligence officials were involved in this?
There's no question the intelligence community from the FBI, CIA, and even other places within DHS, not underneath President Trump's leadership, but that was underneath the Biden administration, kept it from President Trump and the American people and Congress. We are currently going through those lists. We will hold each one of them accountable. Some people aren't here. Some people are no longer in the agencies. Those that are, we will be held accountable. Those that abused their role in this will definitely be held accountable, because there is no excuse. If you purposely disobeyed the law and you purposely went around statute, then you have an accountability. You have a legal reason to be held accountable. Yes, sir. Yeah.
If you'll permit me, I want to ask you a question about the safety program. That is also an important time in law and the Associated Press. Close to the office, who say that the experience and health issues his whole life, like violence, never been bad. What do you say, sir, to those Americans who are concerned that your agency is unpopular?
Sir, I have not heard that at all. But we understand that it's being investigated, and we'll allow the investigation to go through. That's all I'm going to say about that. Yes.
Hi, thank you so much. Kara Castronova from Lindell.
I got back here.
Thank you guys. Kara Castronova from Lindell TV. Thank you so much for doing this briefing today. Is there any analysis on what went wrong with CISA in 2020 and the premature analysis that it was the most safe and secure election? It's now being revealed that obviously it was not. Will Chris Krebs or anybody that was involved in that premature analysis be held accountable?
Everybody that purposely misled the American people, abused their power and their authority, and decided not to continue doing their job will be held accountable. What does that accountability look like? I don't know. Is it criminal? We'll pursue criminal charges. If it is not criminal, we'll make sure you never work for the federal government again and you never have the ability to have a clearance again. Yes. Right here. I will go this way next, I promise.
Some of your numbers, you have 278,000 non-citizens going voter rolls. Any indication of how many people actually voted, or the 400,000 that are actually deceased? Any indication, total number of people that did vote, and what is your ballpark for how many of these people are actually voting?
So those that we've identified, the 278,000 non-citizens and the 400,000 deceased, we are now going through that record. We're standing up a department in DHS. Heather Honey, who is doing a great job exposing all this and working with the team together. Joe Edlow with USCIS and other teams. We are going through these files one by one. And one, identifying the individual. Two, did they vote? And three, where did they vote at? That's a hard, it's easy with states that participate. So the 28,000 that we identified with the 23 states that are working with us, that system can be very easily expose all 28,000. The problem is an activist judges now have put a hold on it, and so we're pending the case. Once it's turned back on, we'll be able to move fast. The 400,000 or the 250,000 in the just four of the blue states. Meaning, what were the states? So I got it right. California, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and Nevada. Those are going to be a little bit tougher because we're going to file paperwork for FOIA, even us, to try to get that information from the states. But we will. I don't care how long it takes. We will go by this one by one, and everybody that did vote illegally, we will prosecute. We'll bring up for prosecution. Yes.
Thank you, sir. Mary Margaret with the Daily Wire. I have two questions for you.
By the way, it's very smart wearing a red dress because you catch everybody's eyes.
That's the goal, right?
Same thing with the, what color shirt is that? Peach? Orange? I don't think that's orange. That's peach. That's definitely peach.
My first question for you is, given that left-wing lawmakers, legacy media has already suggested that the president's entire speech last night was discredited, it seems likely that blue states will not participate in your efforts. So how do you plan to respond to that? And then on my second question, on the traffic stops, did the president know about that decision before you made it, and at what point did you learn about it?
Yeah, so first, let's talk about the major networks not willing to carry the President of the United States address to the nation on election security. How shameful is that? I think it was ABC, NBC, and I don't know if CBS, did CBS carry it? Anybody? CBS carried it? So ABC and NBC not carrying that, why? What are they trying to cover up? Why wouldn't they want to inform the American people? Why are they calling themselves a news outlet if they're not actually trying to put the news out there? We wasn't giving spin on the election. The president wasn't trying to relitigate what happened in 2020, although he definitely could at this point. The president was giving facts, what we have exposed, what the Biden administration covered up, what the intelligence community held from the American people, Congress, and the executive branch, and we're putting it out there. And yet, two major networks didn't want to cover it? I think the question really should say why. Because they sure covered the other part of it when they were saying that it was the most secure election ever. What facts did they have? Because they didn't have facts. They were taking someone's word for it. President Trump gave facts. Today we're giving facts. When you start talking about the president and I are very close. I was texting with him this morning. He and I are there's no daylight between us and the enforcement. And in fact, we have ramped up our enforcement and our arresting illegals. Just to give you some numbers on this so everybody knows, and I want to get them correct, so I brought them with me. Last year total in 2025, we deported, now these are not including self-deportations. These are just ones that we had to go through, we had to arrest, we had to go through the system, and we had to deport, and they tried to stay inside the country, and they had no legal status to do it. 442,637 total deported last year in 25. To date, well, these are yesterday's numbers. We have 403,294 that we've done in 2026. Total removals is 3 million. Total removals, 3 million. 1.4 total aliens have been, since we've been put in place, have either volunteered to be deported, yet we paid for them, or we forced them. But as I said, total removals have said, hey, we're leaving the country and did it on themselves was over 3 million. Yes.
I want to ask about foreign interference.
I'm sorry, who did you say that?
CBS News.
Well, thank you for covering it last night.
Absolutely. I want to ask about foreign interference in our elections, but just first, since you mentioned turning down the temperature, what assurances can you give Americans that ICE officers will face consequences if they violate the DHS's use of force policy? And who will make that determination? And can you commit now to making that determination public to the American?
Wait, let me clarify. When I say turn down the temperature, when I turn down the temperature, yes. Go ahead. And I saw you stand up. I'll get to you next. Go ahead.
Could you speak more to how you're going to put pressure on the states to cooperate with you in this investigation?
Yeah.
In previous instances where we've had ICE already inquire about registration, those have also happened in, for instance, in Texas or North Carolina, where we've had HSI or Oklahoma making those requests. Could you talk about, the scope of this investigation? It seems like it's more than actually police force.
So when we start talking about enforcing, first of all, the states to work with us, and then the scope moving forward, I obviously can't force the states, but the states always look to us for reimbursement when it comes to helping with the elections. It's expensive to put on an election. I mean, think about every precinct in every county and then statewide. We are not going to spend taxpayer dollars reimbursing a state that is refusing to secure their elections. And we're not saying do it alone. We're saying we're going to help you. We're going to give you the tools to need it. We're going to give you the training to need it. We're going to give you the funding to do it. We're going to expose the vulnerabilities, and all you have to do is use that information and the finances and the training we're going to give you to secure it. If you do it, we'll reimburse you. If you don't, we won't. Last question. I'm getting the guy right there in the back.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Neil W. McCabe, Real America's Voice. What are your former Republican Senate colleagues telling you? Are they in a mood to oust Majority Leader John Thune if he refuses to pass the Save America Act or can't figure out how to pass the Save America Act?
I haven't heard that at all from the Senate saying they're willing to vote John out. John is a good friend of mine. He's a good friend of most people in there. Now, there's a difference of opinion. Let me just get to, I'm sorry, I told this guy with a paper I'd get to him, and then this is the last question. I have to go. I'm so sorry. Yes.
CNN. I'm just wondering if the officers involved in the Houston shooting as well as the Maine shooting, are they still on administrative leave? Is that, how long is it?
Blunt as only the war room can be. I was decidedly unimpressed by that. Use of the passive voice. We need to see names. I mean, and solutions. I think we got to hit. I think we got to hit rewind on that and do it again next week. Also, I don't get the mumbo jumbo. You're sitting there going, I want to get out of the headlines. You guys have got the problem with. Hey, screw the media. If they're going to bellyache about getting out 20 million illegal aliens that invaded the country, so be it. Of course, the left-wing media is going to be up in your face. Is that to mean that you're taking action so we avoid being in the headlines every day? Brother, you don't understand the job. Trust me. Okay, short break. We'll talk about Kung Fu Plumber when we get back.
We rejoice when there's no more. Let's take down the CCP. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
We need people that have a sense of urgency and understand this is a war. And now we got the Chinese Communist Party and all these bad actors and the deep state and all of it. It just can't be business as usual. Right there, you just heard business as usual. I think if it was even that. I think he's wrong on both counts. I didn't see any sense of urgency or real action plan of how are we taking care of this today? Do I have people working 30 hours a day to all this we have to do? We understand the voter rolls machine. We got that part. What are you doing today? What actions taken today? What are you doing also for people that either knew about and didn't do it or work for the other side? Krebs, Chad Wolf, the predecessor of Mullins, should to me be indicted by grand jury. And if everyone says, well, he's a good guy, he's working America First, I don't give a damn. Krebs worked for him. He allowed Krebs to go on TV and say his safest election in mankind's history was a bald-faced lie. It's just a bald-faced lie. That's a bald-faced lie. And if you're up the chain of command, there's a chain of command for a reason. You get all the prestige of being a cabinet secretary. Well, dude, you got to take the heat. And back to Markwayne Mullins, everything you said, 70% of the people you're arresting are felons. That's not a good statistic. 90% of the people you should arrest should have no criminal background at all, except how they got into the country, and they're criminals now. It's called mass deportations. The other function is a law enforcement function. Certainly we got to get the felons out. And if they're not cooperating with you, you ought to arrest the police who are not cooperating with you. These are hardcore felons. Yes, obviously they have to go out. And I understand some of the Minnesotas of the world are going to try to stop you on that. I understand that, but that's not the bar. He doesn't understand. So it doesn't click through that skull of his that when you say 70% of the people are felons, that's not a statistic that MAGA wants to hear. They want to hear mass deportations. What are you doing a mass deportation? And the defense of Thune, oh, he's a good guy. I don't give a damn if he's a good guy. He's a great guy. I know him. He's a great guy. He's got a good family. That's not the point. The point is we're at war, and we need warriors. Has Thune taken away any chairmanships? Has Thune taken away offices and said, hey, I'm going to move you out to the parking lot? Do you think LBJ and these guys, when they were running the Senate as Senate leader, they played patty cake? Hell no. They twisted arms and really twisted them. And they weren't good guys, but they got a lot done for what they wanted to get done. Now we want the strength and, quite frankly, the cunning of an LBJ to get done what the Republic has to be done. Don't tell me he's a good guy. I don't give a damn. He hasn't done anything. You're supposed to put pressure on these people. Pressure on these people. It's not getting done. It's not going to get done, and they treat Trump like a lame duck. Worse than lame duck, they don't show him any respect. Markwayne Mullins, did you push for having recess appointments, for going on actual recess and telling them we can't do this anymore? No, you did not. Did you try to move anything in the Senate? No, you did not. You played patty cake with your buddy Thune. It's not good enough. We're at war. We're burning daylight, and your department's not getting it done. It's telling me 70% of who we pick up every day as a felon. That ain't a good statistic, dude. I want 1% of the people you pick up felons and get all the felons, because we want, wait for it, mass deportations. The word that you sloughed off in your hearing and all that. That's what the country needs now more than ever after the revelations last night. The 278,000 that are voting in just 4 states. There's millions and millions of illegal aliens voting. And Markwayne Mullins, the passive voice. Somebody that's a speechwriter, use the active voice. Stop using the passive voice. It's a passive organization. Where's Bavino when you need him? Bavino reminds me of the guys Caesar had when he pacified Gaul, and that's what we need right now. Bring back Bavino. Unbelievable. Fox News didn't cover any of that. As bad as it was, Fox News didn't do anything on look, the Murdochs are 100%. They hate Trump. They hate MAGA. Anybody, if you watch Fox and support that crap, you are part of the problem. They had the Vanity last night was embarrassing on what they did afterwards. They cut right away and went to their favorite topic, bombing Iran. We got to bomb Iran. Unbelievable. By the way, I want to thank our sponsor, Birch Gold. Philip Patrick was this over the weekend. Text Bannon 989898. Get all the information. Get it before Philip Patrick comes on, particularly about the 401ks, IRAs, all these tax-deferred ways that you can actually get into physical gold as part of your retirement. Part of your financial stability. Mike Lindell, Fox News, all of it. Dude, let's not get into that now, or DHS. I want to talk about the deal. Let's just focus for the last couple of minutes on the deal of the century. What do you got for us?
Right. Well, I want to say, Steve, real quick here. I just got off the phone. I just landed in another state. I'm doing a big fundraiser for running for governor, but I was so upset. The Star Tribune from Minneapolis called me and they're doing a hit job on my pillow. I said, did you even bother to watch the president's speech last night? And he hadn't watched it. I haven't been that mad at a reporter since I was at my lawyer in that deposition that time. I kind of lost my cool. I said, he's the only reporter in the country they'll never talk to again. The guy, you can't even make this up. I said, you're the worst reporter that ever lived. I'm going to put his name out there everywhere. But in the meantime, you guys, they're still attacking my pillow after all this time when they found out Mike was right. And so the War Room Posse, you guys have gotten us through. We're putting out a sale that comes once every 250 years. We put together a 4-pack My Pillow special for $49.98. You guys, if you go to the Mega 2 sale, the second annual Mega sale, you can spell it either way, Mega or Mega. And we got the Giza Dream Sheets, the president's favorite product, $29.98, as low as $29.98. We've got the My Towel sets, you guys, $39.98 6-piece towel set that actually work. And if you go to mypillow.com/war room, we still have the mattresses on sale. 50% off, free shipping right to your front door. And you guys got to take advantage today of the sales where all these 3 sales are colliding. We have our factory sale we put back up there. All the new products are up there. Call 800-873-1062. Tell my operators you have their back and get some ordered today. We're giving back with you guys with these great sales. Promo code War Room.
Thank you, brother. We'll see you this afternoon. Mike Lindell, out the road. What a warrior. The Charlie Kirk Show with Andrew Colvette is next. Got Poso. We're back at 5. We'll see you then. And don't forget, tomorrow morning, Philip Patterson and George Score. It's going to be amazing. Make sure you're there. Back at 5.